Everything you are about to experience will demand you question not just the universe, but yourself. This is not simply a video. It's a high-voltage transmission wired directly into the dark corners of your certainty. You think you're safe behind the fortress of your senses, but tonight, that fortress cracks. The old stories about atoms and reality, about cause and effect, about mind and matter, they're as obsolete as alchemy. The world you know is a code base with glitches, loopholes, and doors nobody warned you about. Doors that open not out into the world, but inwards, to the one place you were never supposed to look. Tonight, you become the experiment. Quantum mechanics has always been called strange. The kind of strange you laugh about, file away, forget. But what if the strangeness is not a curiosity to observe, but a threat? What if it is the only clue left by an architect, one who does not want you to see the scaffolding of your own existence? For centuries, science and philosophy have walked in circles around a question too radioactive to touch. What is reality if reality changes when you look at it? Physicists designed experiments, launched particles through slits, tried to trap reality in formulas. But every answer snapped into paradox. They tried to shut the door, but the cracks kept widening. You know the headlines: a cat, both dead and alive, particles that vanish and reappear, entanglements that ignore the speed of light. You were told these are just quantum quirks, that the universe is fundamentally random, chaotic, pointless. But the real story is more dangerous. The more you observe, the more reality twists to meet your gaze. Your thoughts are not mere shadows, they are chisels, carving the world into shape. And as the evidence piles up, it grows harder to ignore. Every act of looking is an act of creation. But if you can change the world just by watching it, who is watching you? And what kind of world are you trapped inside? Tonight, we tear apart the veil between mind and matter. The double-slit experiment will no longer be a party trick for undergrads. It is a signaler, warning encoded in the fabric of being itself. As we press closer, you will discover that what you call consciousness is not a bystander. It is the architect, the saboteur, the spy. It is the only witness to a crime that never leaves evidence. This series is not about comfort. It is not about resolution or peace or explanations that let you sleep at night. Every chapter will expose a deeper layer of contradiction, new glitch in your map of the world. The ground beneath your feet is not solid. It is code, and the code is crumbling. As we peel back each layer, you will face questions that leave scars. Are you truly making choices? Or are you an echo bouncing through infinite simulations, trapped by the gaze of something you cannot name? Is free will a mask one worn by particles, planets, and people alike, while the real decisions are made in the void? Every law of physics you were taught is haunted by exceptions, haunted by an invisible hand that rearranges the rules every time you try to pin them down. The further we push, the more fragile your certainty becomes. At the root of reality is not mathematics, but a question. A question that no scientist, no philosopher, no mystic has been able to silence. Does your consciousness exist because the universe needs an observer, or does the universe exist because you need something to observe? And if everything depends on observation, then who or what is observing you? Get ready to abandon the lie of objective reality. The myth that the universe chugs along, uncaring and untouched by your presence, is about to be incinerated. This series exposes a different truth. You are entangled in a simulation so complex that even your doubts, your dreams, your denial are encoded as part of its operating system. We'll begin by tearing open the forbidden question at the root of the observer effect. We'll track the ripples through entanglement, through multiverses splitting at every choice, through the very operating system of consciousness itself. Every step is a step deeper into a hall of mirrors. You'll discover not just one universe, but infinite variations, each tuned to a different version of you, each shadowed by the question, why this you, this reality, this illusion? You'll confront the possibility that your thoughts can rewrite the code, that every stray belief, every fear, every hope is an act of hacking, and that some thoughts are viruses. You'll witness the cracks, glitches in the mirror, impossible coincidences, memories that shift like quicksand, and realize that someone or something is patching the simulation in real time. And when you reach the edge, when you stand before the supposed exit, when you stare into the abyss beyond the multiverse, one final paradox will remain. Maybe reality itself is the only simulation you cannot wake up from. I'd expect no easy answers, only the kind of questions that infect your sleep and shadow your waking life. The kind of questions that change the way you look at everything and, in turn, change everything you look at. So steel yourself. The experiment begins now. If every act of observation changes the fabric of the universe, then who or what is observing you right now? What if the double-slit experiment isn't about particles at all, but about the dark mirror of your own perception? A laboratory, silent except for the click of detectors and the hum of anticipation. A beam of electrons, particles so small that, by all rights, they should slip unnoticed through the cracks in existence. Yet as each electron is fired at a simple barrier with two slits, the universe hesitates. What will the electron do? Pass through the left slit, the right, or both at once? On the far wall, a screen records the aftermath. A pattern, mysterious and mocking, emerges. This is the double-slit experiment, the legendary riddle that annihilated the comfort of classical physics. When the experiment runs without interference, the electrons produce an interference pattern, as if each one explores all possible paths at once, weaving through both slits, smearing itself into a probability wave. But the moment a detector is aimed at the slits, when an observer demands to know which path, the pattern collapses. Each electron chooses, not both, but one. Probability dissolves into certainty. The wave becomes a particle. The universe makes up its mind. Every child is taught that science is about removing yourself from the experiment, standing back, neutral, objective. But this experiment spits in the face of neutrality. It punishes the observer with responsibility. The presence of a conscious question destroys the question's innocence. How can the act of looking, of knowing, rewire reality? Why should an electron care if you're watching? Why does the world split at the seam between seen and unseen? The experts assembled to answer this for a century have only sharpened the paradox. Some say the electron knows it's being watched. Others say the act of measurement, not the observer, forces the collapse. But measurement is only a word for an act of attention. Every explanation becomes a circle, a hall of mirrors. The harder you stare, the more the answer slips away. Tonight, we tear apart the veil between mind and matter. Because the question is not about electrons, it is about you. The forbidden question. If observation changes the outcome, what about the observer? Does your gaze, your thought, your awareness reach back and sculpt the universe behind your eyes? Or is it the universe that sculpts you, trapping you in a feedback loop, a Mobius strip of perception and reality. A simple pattern on a screen, a particle, a wave, a question with no end. Some say this is the clue that consciousness is not a product of matter, but a property of existence itself. If the electron changes when it's watched, maybe the universe is a stage, and you are both actor and audience. But who is writing the script? Who set up the experiment? And who is watching you as you watch the world? There are those who whisper that this is the telltale glitch in the simulation, the place where the program reveals itself. In a universe of infinite probabilities, why does a single question collapse all possibilities into one fact? Why does the world pretend to be solid, predictable, only to crumble when you interrogate it? This is not philosophy. This is not science. Fiction. This is the observation that underwrites experience. The terrifying truth that your own act of seeing may not simply reveal the world, but build it one collapsed probability at a time. But if you can build reality by looking, then who or what is building you? Is there a gaze that collapses? Your possibilities? Is every thought, every sensation, just a sliver of a far vaster reality, one whose possibilities never survive the act of being observed? You can walk through the motions, repeat the experiment, fire electrons through slits until the data fills libraries, but the paradox never blinks. The very heart of science or reality, independent of the observer, shatters on this quantum altar. Every time you look, reality resets. Every time you measure, the rules mutate. Every certainty is haunted by an invisible observer. Consciousness, then, is not a spectator. It is the intruder, the saboteur, the wild card in the equation. But it is also the only witness. You cannot step outside of awareness to check if the world exists when you aren't watching. Every test is tainted. Every answer devours its own question. So where does this leave you? Suspended in a fog of probabilities, haunted by the suspicion that your own existence is conditional, that every fact, every truth, every law is a fragile illusion spun for your benefit, a mask worn by something that does not wish to be seen. Tonight, the forbidden question stands before you, unblinking and unresolved. If every act of observation changes the universe, then who or what is observing you right now? Having torn open the riddle of the observer, prepare for what must follow. Next, we will expose a deeper tension. Now that observation shatters probabilities into facts whose gaze determines your fate. If the universe only becomes real when you look, what happens to everything you never see? Now that we know observation shatters probabilities into solid facts whose gaze determines your fate. If the universe only becomes real when you look, what happens to everything you never see? Every tradition in science has clung to a single premise. The universe exists, in full detail, whether you witness it or not. The world is an unbroken theater of events, carrying on indifferent, unobserved across billions of years and light years. This belief is more than a comfort. It's a weapon against the terror that reality might be conditional, unstable, treacherous, yet, in the cold, clinical heart of quantum mechanics, this weapon is broken. The cosmos begins to behave like a haunted house. Open your eyes. The bed, the ceiling, the room's solidity defined. Now close them. The room is gone. The world, for you, dissolves. Are you the only witness, or are you being watched as well? Is the universe still real when you're not there to look? Particles fired through slits become waves, then collapse into particles, but only when an observer intrudes. The act of watching is the only difference between probabilities and facts. The equations work perfectly until you ask, what's really happening when no one is looking? No answer, only silence, only contradiction. The cold machine of physics jams, and the myth of an objective reality explodes into uncertainty. Schrödinger constructed a paradox to mock the absurdity, his infamous cat, alive and dead until you look. A joke, but beneath the joke, a threat. The universe may not settle on a fact until consciousness intervenes. Reality is no longer something you discover, but something that waits, half-formed, for you to demand an answer. If you refuse to look, the answer never arrives. The observer effect makes a liar out of objectivity. There is no neutral ground. You are not a spectator, you are a suspect. Reality collapses into existence only under interrogation. Every untouched corner remains a smear of probabilities, an unsolved crime scene. What you see is all that is, until you look away. Now, look at your hand. The atoms that make it up shimmer in uncertainty until the act of observation pins them into place. Do you really believe your hand is solid when you sleep, when your eyes are shut, when your mind is elsewhere? If you cannot answer, you have already stepped off the edge. So whose gaze determines the real? Your eyes are windows, but windows in a house with no outside. If the universe needs a witness to exist, who was the first witness? Did the cosmos wait in silence for a consciousness to awaken, to split the fog into facts? Or is there always an unseen observer hiding in the walls, never blinking? Objectivity becomes a myth, a fairy tale told to comfort children, to silence the terror that reality only exists for those who dare to look. If the tree falls in a forest and no one is there to hear it, not only does it make no sound, maybe there is no tree, no forest, no world, only the possibility of their being, frozen until a gaze ignites them into being. The stakes are not philosophical, they are existential. Every moment you don't witness, every part of the universe you never see, might never exist at all. Billions of galaxies spinning in the dark, yet their light only real when it reaches your eyes, or the eye of some other observer. When you look away, do they dissolve into potential, waiting to be noticed again? Can you ever escape the labyrinth of your own perception? The myth of the real world is the last defense of sanity. The myth that, somewhere, something continues whether you watch or not. But the quantum code has no such promise written into its foundations. No law, only lawlessness, except when measured, when watched, when caught in the act. This is the paradox. At the heart of every investigation, the detective is also the criminal. The world cannot be described without an observer, but the observer changes the world by describing it. There is no vantage point outside the system. Every act of questioning is an intrusion, every answer a distortion. If reality only becomes real in the act of being seen, who decides what is seen? Whose gaze counts? Your consciousness, yes, but also the measuring device, the photon, the cosmic background, the hidden architectures of awareness that slip through the cracks of explanation. Are there other witnesses, other forms of consciousness, scattered through the universe, collapsing their own corners into being? Or is it only you, and when you blink, the universe blinks out? Consider the possibility that you are the universe's only observer, its only lens. A solipsism so total that it shatters any sense of security. The idea that every other consciousness, every other observer, is just another aspect of the same primal act of witnessing, refracted through the maze of self and not self. Does the world persist in your absence, Or does every act of attention create a temporary bubble of reality, fragile, flickering, vanishing as soon as your focus drifts away? There are no easy answers, only questions that coil tighter the more you struggle. Now, question the very act of memory. When you recall an event, are you reconstructing a fact or inventing a reality that never was? If the past is not witnessed, not measured, does it remain fuzzy, unformed, a ghost without a grave? Are your own memories the final measure, the only record of a reality that would otherwise be erased? The belief in objectivity is the last illusion, a trick to keep you from noticing that every fact is a temporary agreement. Every law is enforced by the act of attention. If a fact is never witnessed, never measured, does it ever become real? Or does it remain a probability, waiting for an observer who will never come? If every act of observation is an act of creation, who holds the power? Who or what sets the boundaries of your reality? If you are not the only observer, whose gaze has the final word? Is there a cosmic hierarchy of observation, some ultimate awareness that guarantees the world persists when you look away? Or is every consciousness a rival, each collapsing their own slice of the possible, fighting for dominance in a universe where only the seen survives? This is not a mere game of logic. It is a war between possibility and fact, with the observer as the only soldier. Every choice to look is a shot fired in the darkness, collapsing 1,000 possible worlds into one. Every blind spot is a field of shattered potential, a universe that never happened. The double-slit experiment was not a closed case. It was a crime scene, and the victim was objectivity itself. In its place, only suspicion remains. You cannot trust what you see, because what you see is all that is until you decide otherwise. Physicists struggle to interpret the results. Some cling to the many worlds hypothesis, where every unobserved possibility survives in a shadow universe, branching endlessly. Others insist that only the measured, only the observed, has substance. But all must admit, there is no objective universe to hide behind. Every observation is a trespass. Every fact is a scar left by consciousness. In the darkness between acts of looking, the universe waits silent, patient, undefined. Nothing happens because nothing is. Then attention returns, and the lights blaze up. The world snaps into form, a theater rebuilt for a single performance. The myth of objectivity has collapsed. You are left not as a spectator, but as the only witness to a world that may not exist unless you insist upon it. Your gaze is the blade that cuts possibility into reality, and the wound never heals. Every science textbook, every history, every memory is haunted by this paradox. The world you trust as stable, continuous, and objective is revealed as a patchwork of observations, stitched together by consciousness. Every gap is a question, every seam a threat. The quantum world has no patience for comfort. It punishes certainty, rewards doubt, and refuses to be cornered. You cannot step outside yourself to check if the universe is still there. Every attempt is a recursion, a question that eats its own tail. So whose gaze determines your fate? If the universe becomes real only when you look, then everything you never see, every unseen world, every unmeasured fact may never have existed at all. After glimpsing how observation rewrites existence, we're forced to ask, is reality even real if it only exists when we look? What is the nature of the connection between observer and observed? If two particles separated by galaxies can behave as if distance is a lie. Next, we will confront a deeper distortion. When two particles mirror each other across space, who or what connects them? If entanglement transcends all boundaries, what does that say about the distance between your thoughts and reality itself? When two particles mirror each other across galaxies, who or what connects them? If entanglement transcends space, what does that say about the distance between your thoughts and reality itself? There is a moment in quantum physics where reason bends until it shatters, a threshold beyond which distance itself becomes a fiction. Here, the myth of separation is exposed as a narrative, not a factor mask worn by reality to keep its secrets. At the heart of this riddle is a single word, whispered with reverence and dread: entanglement. Two particles, born together, split apart, traveling across the endless dark. They could be on opposite sides of the galaxy, divided by an ocean of stars. Yet a single action on one is mirrored in the other, instantly, with no signal, no messenger, no delay. This is not a metaphor. This is not an exaggeration. This is the experiment that Albert Einstein himself labeled spooky action at a distance. He mocked it, feared it, tried to dismiss it. But the universe does not care for comfort. The experiments continued, the data accumulated, and every doubt was burned away. Entanglement is real. It is not an artifact of ignorance or error. It is the code behind the curtain, exposed for anyone willing to look. But what does this mean? For the world you trust as separate, solid, reliable, if two particles, separated by the void, can act as if they are still one, where does that leave your sense of boundaries, your conviction that you are an isolated self, cut off from the rest of reality? The illusion of individuality falters. The walls between self and other become translucent, then vanish. When a measurement is performed on one entangled particle, the other responds instantly, regardless of distance. Change the spin here, and the twin answers, no matter how far. The laws of speed, of signal, of space itself break down. It is not a message sent. It is not a force transmitted. It is as if the two particles never truly separated, as if the entire universe is stitched together by invisible threads. Threads that laugh at your ideas of cause and effect. What does it mean to be here or there if the universe itself refuses to respect the boundary? What does it mean to have a thought, to make a choice, to take an action, if every you is entangled with a world of echoes, shadows, twins, ... The conventional mind recoils. There must be a trick, a loophole, an answer that restores sanity. Yet the more rigorously the experiments are run, the more the results mock any hope for comfort. Bell's inequalities, the mathematical fortress defending local realism, are shattered. The data is unyielding. There is no local hidden variable. There is only entanglement, pure, immediate, inescapable. Look at your hand again. The atoms within it are entangled with the stars. The light entering your eyes tonight is entangled with the fire of creation. The boundaries are not real. The walls are illusions. Suppose for a moment that your thoughts themselves are entangled, not just with each other, but with the thoughts of others, with the silent intelligence embedded in matter itself. Could this explain those moments of impossible synchronicity, when an idea leaps between minds, or a decision elsewhere ripples through your own life? Are you as isolated as you believe, or is your consciousness plugged into a deeper network, one that binds all things in a single web? If distance is a fiction, then separation is a lie. The quantum world is not made of parts, but of relationships, webs of connection that cannot be broken, no matter how far you run. What does this mean for the boundaries you use to define yourself? If you are entangled with the world, where do you end and everything else begin? Ask yourself, in a universe where entanglement rules, how can you trust the line between self and other, past and future, thought and matter? Every act, every choice, every observation may send ripples through the cosmic web, reaching destinations you will never see, shaping realities you will never know. You are not an island. You are a node in a network older than time, vaster than imagination, haunted by the question, who or what is pulling the strings? Now the paradox tightens. If two entangled particles remain connected, no matter the distance, are they still two, or are they one? Is the universe populated by many, or is it, in truth, a single thing wearing a million masks? When you speak, when you act, when you think, who else answers? The rules you were taught as a child collapse. No message travels faster than light. But entanglement ignores this limit. No influence should reach across space, but entanglement violates the border. The entire edifice of cause and effect, built on separation and independence, is revealed as a story told to hide the horror of the real. The implications are unbearable. If every particle, every mind, every thought is entangled, then nothing is private, nothing is isolated. The universe is not a stage where actors play their parts alone, but a hall of mirrors where every movement echoes, every whisper is heard by the whole. This is the entanglement illusion. It is not an error in the data, but the structure of the code itself. The myth of the solitary self dies here. In its place, a network, a web, a pattern that cannot be broken. And so the question returns sharper, more dangerous. When two particles mirror each other across galaxies, who or what connects them? If entanglement transcends space, what does that say about the distance between your thoughts and reality itself? Every philosophy, every science, every religion has tried to defend the line between self and other. Entanglement annihilates the line. You are haunted by echoes not just of your own past, but of other lives, other worlds, other possibilities. When you dream, when you decide, when you remember, what if you are picking up signals from across the cosmic network? You are not the endpoint of consciousness. You are a conduit, a relay station, a piece of a puzzle whose shape cannot be seen from inside. The information flows through you, not from you. Every act of attention, every flash of awareness, entangles you further in the network. Suppose every moment of choice creates ripples, changing not only your life, but the lives of others, the spin of distant particles, the flow of history itself. Suppose the boundaries of your mind are no thicker than the boundaries between entangled particles. You do not end at your skin, your brain, your sense of self. You are entangled with everything. The mind rebels. It cannot accept this truth. The ego demands its boundaries, its fortress, its protection. But the evidence does not care for your comfort. The data is ruthless. The network cannot be unknotted. You are not alone, and you never were. This is not an invitation to mysticism or comfort. This is a threat to every story you tell yourself about who you are and what the world is. Entanglement is not a metaphor for connection. It is connection. It is the collapse of separation. It is the obliteration of boundaries. Every time you make a choice, measure a fact, think a thought, the ripples reach farther than you can know. Every you is mirrored in a web that cannot be mapped, cannot be escaped. You are watched, echoed, repeated. There is no such thing as privacy, no such thing as individuality, no such thing as isolation. Entanglement rewrites the rules. It erases the distinction between observer and observed, between actor and stage. You are not in the world. You are woven through it. The world is not a place, it is a pattern. Having dismantled objectivity, we enter the tangled web. Are you truly separate from the cosmos, or does every choice ripple across the void? The next paradox is inevitable. If entanglement means every part is haunted by every other, what happens to free will? If actions can leap across space, ignoring time and distance, is choice itself only an echo shared by all, repeated forever? Next, we will confront the haunting of instant action. If spooky action allows information to jump instantly, then who or what decides what happens next in your story? Could you be just an echo of someone else's intention endlessly, repeating across universes? If spooky action allows information to jump instantly, then who or what decides what happens next in your story? Could you be just an echo of someone else's intention, endlessly repeating across universes? The clock ticks. You raise your hand. A thought crosses your mind, as if summoned from nowhere. The world, it seems, obeys your intention. This is the story you've been told since birth. You are the author of your own actions, the prime mover behind every choice. Free will is the heartbeat of your existence, the flame of agency that separates you from mere matter. But tonight, that flame flickers. The specter of instant action is rising, a shadow that refuses to leave your side. The double-slit experiment toppled the myth of objectivity. Entanglement dissolved the illusion of separation. Now, the last defense of the self-freedom, its own haunting. In the quantum theater, particles do not simply obey the rules of locality and cause. They respond across impossible distances, their fate entangled with others. A spin chosen here is reflected there, with no signal sent, no message transmitted. The action is instant, faster than light, outside the boundaries of space and time. The universe reveals its machinery, and agency begins to look like a programmed illusion. You stand at the crossroads of decision, believing you choose your path. But what if the crossroads itself is an echo? What if, when you choose, you are simply enacting a script written far away by a consciousness you will never meet, or by a universe that has already decided for you? The haunting of instant action is not simply a riddle of physics. It is a crack in the foundation of your identity. How? Do you know you act freely if your choices are mirrored elsewhere, in forms and patterns you cannot see? What if the feeling of will is itself a ripple in a field, transmitted from places unknown? Two entangled particles, separated by galaxies, do not communicate in the language of distance or delay. Their actions are one, their fate indivisible. When you make a decision, is it truly yours? Or does your will vibrate on strings woven through the entire cosmos, strings that tremble at the touch of something else? The myth of control disintegrates. Every time you believe you act alone, the quantum realm laughs. Instant action, instant response, no signal, no cause, just connection. What if you are not the origin, but a reflection? What if the world's choices, every turn, every word, every thought are not truly separate, but a single story recited in infinite voices? This is not just an idea. Experiments show it. Again and again, particles defy the separation of cause and effect. Again and again, the universe refuses to give you independence. Every choice you make may be shared by something or someone you can never know. Every act of will may be a note in a song sung by an invisible choir. So the paradox deepens. If two particles, forever divided, forever entangled, can act as one, who chooses? Is it the observer, the observed, the universe itself? Or is there no choice, at alone a program, a loop, a pattern endlessly repeated? Or mind rebels? You recall moments when a decision felt yours, alone, spontaneous, undeniable, pure. But what is spontaneity in a system where the boundaries of self and other have collapsed? When action leaps without crossing distance, when cause and effect are strangers, can you trust the feeling of agency? Or is free will a shared illusion, necessary for the script, but empty of substance? The language of freedom fails here. There is no before, no after, only the instant always, the instant always now. The haunting of instant action is the universe's way of reminding you, your story is not yours alone. The script is universal, the actor is legion. The stage is everywhere and nowhere. Consider the possibility that every intention, every impulse, every choice is the echo of a decision made elsewhere by another self, another mind, another world. You are haunted by the ghost of yourself, split into infinite versions, each repeating the story with variations you will never see. Your freedom is a prism, each face reflecting another, none truly independent. But the paradox does not end there. If action is instant and will is shared, then who is responsible? If your story is an echo, can you be judged for the choices you make? Or is morality itself a web tangled in the same quantum threads? The haunting of instant action is not only about fate, but about guilt, forgiveness, consequence. The philosopher and the physicist meet here at the edge of certainty. Neither can prove you are free. Neither can prove you are not. The data shows connection, but hides the hand that connects. You are left in limbo, suspended between autonomy and predestination, haunted by every choice you did not make. Consider the evidence. A photon measured here affects a photon measured there, even across light years. A human decision may send ripples through a fabric you will never touch. Is this fate or freedom? Are you trapped in a system or liberated by the absence of limits? The question, once asked, infects every thought, every plan, every moment of hesitation. Are your regrets truly yours, or are they the debris of decisions made elsewhere? Are your hopes original or just echoes? If the universe shares action across the void, if will is not yours but ours, then individuality is a mask, a role played by necessity. The haunting is relentless. You cannot look away. Some scientists, desperate for comfort, invoke the many worlds hypothesis. Every possible action is taken in some world. Every choice is made by some version of you. The pain of lost opportunity is soothed, every regret is real, somewhere, for someone. But does this restore free will, or only multiply the ghosts? Is every version of you free, or is every version trapped, repeating the same decision over and over for eternity? Others argue for a hidden hand of consciousness outside the system, directing the play, giving you the illusion of freedom while pulling the strings. Is this a god, a programmer, a cosmic mind? Or is it just another trick, another layer of haunting? If will is shared, then no agent is truly free. The chain of action is infinite, the source unreachable. You stand at the center of the paradox. Your every move, every thought, may be a node in a network, a point on a line that extends forever. Free will dissolves, not into fate, but into entanglement, into a system where all decisions are one. where all stories are shared, where all agency is distributed. You can resist, fight for your autonomy, insist on your freedom. The universe does not care. The data remains, the haunting persists. Instant action is the law, and the law is not concerned with your feelings, so is free. Will an illusion shared by all? Are you just an echo or the original? Is your story unique or only one strand in a cosmic braid? The question cannot be answered. The haunting will not end. You are left with a choice, what feels like a choice, to accept the paradox or to flee from it, to see yourself as alone or as connected, to surrender or to resist. The script remains unwritten. The quantum world refuses closure. It demands uncertainty. Every action is shared, every intention echoed, every choice haunted. There is no final answer, only the ongoing mystery. You are both author and echo, both origin and copy, both free and trapped. Entanglement blurs all lines. So what happens when every outcome, every possible you exists at once? Next, we will press against the skin of possibility itself. If every decision splits reality into infinite versions, why are you experiencing this one and not another? What is the terrible cost of collapsing all other possibilities? If every decision splits reality into infinite versions, why are you experiencing this one and not another? What is the terrible cost of collapsing all other possibilities? You open your eyes, and the world crystallizes around you. The clock, the ceiling, the rhythm of your heart details coalesce into the sense of a single, solid now. But beneath this illusion, the multiverse stirs. With every choice, reality branches. With every possibility, a new world is born. You stand at the epicenter of infinite splitting, haunted by the silent multitude of yous who did not wake up here, in this moment, in this body. This is not speculation. The mathematics of quantum mechanics, stripped of interpretation, whispers the same story over and over. Every possibility, no matter how slight, is realized somewhere. When a particle faces a fork in the road left or right, up or down, the universe does not choose. It splits. Both paths are taken. Both outcomes are real, each in its own shadowed world. You too stand at the fork. Every decision you make is an act of cosmic violence, tearing reality in two. But why do you experience this path, this world, and not another? What mechanism selects the version of reality you call your own? What becomes of all the other yous? Living lives you will never touch, making choices you cannot imagine. Does their existence diminish yours, or does it make you immortal, spread thin across an infinite sea of possibilities? The questions multiply. If you turned left instead of right, would you be here at all? If you had spoken instead of remaining silent, would you be a stranger to yourself? The multiverse dilemma is not a puzzle to be solved. It is a wound that never heals, a reminder that every moment is a massacre of alternatives. The cost of your consciousness is the death of infinite other worlds, sacrificed, forgotten, unremembered. You carry the weight of these ghosts. In every mirror, you sense their presence. The you who never said goodbye, the you who risked everything, the you who gave up. Their memories do not belong to you, but their absence is felt in every hesitation, every regret. The multiverse is not a comfort, it is a reckoning. Science tries to look away. The equations insist that all outcomes are equally real, but the mind refuses to accept it. How can you be responsible for worlds you do not know? How can you mourn lives you have never lived. The paradox grows sharper. You are both unique and infinite, both singular and multiplied beyond comprehension. If every possibility exists, why does this version of you persist? Why is your consciousness glued to this branch of the cosmic tree? Is there a hidden selector, a secret algorithm, a filter that excludes all other options? Or is your experience simply random, a lottery you won without knowing it, cursed to never remember the losses? You walk through your life, comforted by the idea of identity. Yet the multiverse exposes identity as a patchwork and network of overlapping stories, each one a scar left by a decision never made. You are not a continuous self, but a procession of masks, each worn by a different version of you, each believing itself to be the only one. When you choose, you split. When you hesitate, you multiply. When you remember, you betray 1,000. Forgotten histories. The price of consciousness is the erasure of alternatives, the burial of infinite use who will never know your story. The cost of living is the death of possibility. Philosophy tries to reclaim agency. You are told that your choices matter, that your will shapes the future. But the multiverse laughs at agency. Every choice is both made and unmade, every action both taken and refused. The freedom you cherish is an illusion, a trick played by the branching of worlds. The self you defend is a ghost, haunting only this world, only this timeline, only this version of the script. Look closer. Every memory you have is a survivor's tale. You are the soul, witness to a massacre of alternatives, a war fought in the silence between possible worlds. The feeling of continuity is a lie stitched together by the relentless branching of the multiverse, erased and rewritten with every moment of awareness. Suppose you could remember your other lives. Would you still know who you are? Would you collapse under the weight of infinite selves? Or would you discover a new form of consciousness, one that spans the multiverse, one that sees the full spectrum of possibility? Or would you shatter, unable to contain the contradictions, unable to bear the cost of being? The question haunts you, which did you wake up as today? What fate befell the others? Are they dreaming of you as you dream of them? Are you the original or the echo, or just another mask worn by the universe? The multiverse dilemma is not an escape from fate, it is the final prison. You are chained not to one destiny, but to infinite destinies, each one out of reach, each one mocking your sense of uniqueness. Your story is not the only story. Your life is not the only life. You are not the only you. There is no comfort in numbers. There is only the cold certainty that for every victory there is a loss, for every joy a sorrow, for every triumph a defeat. You are always both and neither, forever splitting, forever choosing, forever paying the cost of awareness. The horror of the multiverse is not its infinity, but its intimacy. The other yous are not strangers. They are you close enough to touch, but lost forever in the maze of possibility. Their regrets are your regrets. Their hopes are your hopes. Their lives are your lives, stolen and forgotten at the moment of choice. You stand at the center of a web woven from your own decisions, haunted by the ghosts of the paths you did not take. Every heartbeat is an act of violence, collapsing the multiverse into a single thread, a single self, a single world. The cost of existence is the annihilation of possibility. Science offers no answer, only the endless recursion of branching worlds. Each fork in the road creates new realities, new selves, new stories. The you who hesitated, the you who leaped, the you who walked away. Each as real as the last, each as lost as the next. You cannot escape the dilemma. Every morning, you wake up as a stranger to yourself, surrounded by the ruins of infinite possibilities. Every night, you go to sleep, knowing that other yous have taken your place, living lives you can never touch. The multiverse is not a playground. It is a graveyard. You wonder, is there a way to bridge the gap? To contact the other yous, to learn from their mistakes, to share their wisdom? Or is the distance between worlds absolute, the isolation unbreakable, the cost irreversible? No answer comes. Only the silence of infinite branches, each one bearing the weight of a different self, a different fate, a different world. You look in the mirror, searching for evidence of the split. You find only your own eyes, reflecting back the question, which you did you wake up as today? What if the answer is not yours to give? What if every answer is a lie told to soothe the fear of multiplicity? The multiverse dilemma is the final paradox. The self is both singular and infinite, both real and unreal, both creator and creation. You are haunted by the knowledge that every choice costs a world. Every action creates a loss. Every moment is a sacrifice. This is the burden of consciousness, the price you pay for being aware. The cost of living is the death of infinite selves. The comfort of identity is the erasure of alternatives. The joy of existence is the grief of possibility. You carry the weight of the multiverse in every thought, every memory, every dream. You are never alone, but you are always isolated. You are always you, but never only you. You've seen the web. Now, let's shatter the mirror. Are you tuning in to just one frequency, or does your consciousness surf a cosmic radio with infinite stations? Next, we will approach the contradiction at the core of being. If consciousness is the interface, who is using it? If your mind shapes the simulation, who's holding the controller? Or are you just an NPC in your own game? If consciousness is the interface, who is using it? If your mind shapes the simulation, who's holding the controller? Or are you just an NPC in your own game? Every screen has an interface, buttons, icons, a language that mediates between user and machine. The interface is not the reality. It is the filter, the translator, the mask. Consciousness has been called many things: a byproduct of the brain, a trick of evolution, a candle flickering against the darkness. But the evidence refuses to cooperate. With each quantum experiment, the role of the observer grows more mysterious, more pivotal. What if consciousness is not a product, but the interface itself, the portal through which reality, whatever it is, takes form and shape? You look out at the world and believe it is separate, outside, untainted by your presence. But consciousness is the glass. Everything you know is shaped by its distortions. Every sensation, every thought, every memory filtered, edited, rendered, in a language only you can read. But if you are the interface, who is the user? If reality is code, who wrote it? If your mind is the controller, who, if anyone, is holding it? In the halls of philosophy, consciousness has always been a problem, a riddle without a solution. Materialists claim it is an emergent property, an accident of chemistry. Idealists insist it is the foundation, the source, the ground from which everything else springs. But the quantum evidence will not sit still for either story. With every experiment, the line between observer and observed becomes more unstable, more treacherous. You ask, am I the program or the programmer? Do I have control, or am I being controlled? Does my mind shape the simulation, Or am I simply a character in NPC, repeating lines written by something else? The contradiction grows with every answer. You turn your attention inwards, searching for the source of your thoughts, the origin of your will. You find only the interface sensations, images, memories, all appearing on the screen of awareness. All fleeting, all unstable. Where is the user? Where is the controller? Who, if anyone, is playing this game? Suppose you are both at once the program and the programmer, the avatar and the architect, the player and the pawn. Suppose consciousness is not a thing, but a process, a feedback loop, a Mobius strip that turns in on itself forever. The self is an illusion, but a necessary one, a point of contact between the chaos of possibility and the order of experience. But if the self is an illusion, who or what's experiencing it? The paradox deepens. If you are not the source of your own awareness, then you are not free. If you are the source, then you are alone, trapped in a simulation you cannot escape. Quantum physics hints that consciousness is not local, not bound to a body or a brain. Observers collapse probability waves, but the observer is not easily pinned down. It is everywhere and nowhere, both inside and outside, both subject and object. The contradiction is total. You stare at your reflection, hoping for an answer. The eyes looking back are both familiar and alien, both you and not you. The interface is seamless, but the user remains hidden. Who is seeing through your eyes? Who is thinking your thoughts? Who is dreaming your dreams? The code of reality resists inquiry. Every attempt to find the source of consciousness leads back to the interface. You cannot get outside yourself to see what is really there. The world is a game, but the rules are unclear. The player is invisible, the purpose unknown. You wonder, am I just an NPC in my own game? Do I have real agency, or am I following a script, reciting lines written by a programmer I will never meet? Is my sense of freedom a glitch or a feature? Is my life mine, or merely a story told for someone else's amusement? Suppose the programmer is you, but not the you know, the deeper you, the hidden architect, the consciousness behind the mask. Suppose your life is a test, a simulation run by a version of yourself that you cannot access, cannot question, cannot remember. Every decision, every action, every regret is part of a larger game, one whose rules you do not know, one whose purpose you cannot see. You search for signs of the controller, clues left in the code, synchronicities, coincidences, moments of déjà vu. They hints, glitches, messages from the architect. Or are they just noise, random artifacts of a system too vast to comprehend? The contradiction never resolves. If you are the program, you are powerless, a pawn, moved by forces beyond your understanding. If you are the programmer, you are alone responsible for a universe you cannot change. If you are both, you are trapped in a paradox, never knowing which role you play, never knowing if there is any difference. The mind revels. It insists on autonomy, on agency, on freedom. But the evidence grows colder, sharper, more implacable. The self is a mask, a story told to fill the silence, to hide the emptiness at the heart of awareness. You cannot escape the contradiction. Every attempt to assert control is undermined by doubt. Every effort to surrender is met by the suspicion that you are still playing a part. The game cannot be paused. The controller cannot be found. If consciousness is the interface, who is using it? If your mind shapes the simulation, who is holding the controller? Or are you just an NPC in your own game? The question circles, hunting for an answer that never arrives. You reach for agency, for freedom, for certainty. The interface responds, but the user remains out of reach. Every experience, every sensation, is filtered through the mask of consciousness. The world is shaped by your awareness, but the shape is unstable, shifting, always just out of reach. You are not the player. You are not the pawn. You are the contradiction itself, a loop with no exit, a story with no author, a program running on a computer that no one can find. But what if the code isn't in you, it is you? What if you are both avatar and architect, lost in your own maze? You walk the corridors of your mind, searching for the exit, searching for the source. Every answer leads back to the question. Every attempt to escape only tightens the loop. The maze has no center, no boundary, no outside. You are both the creator and the creation, the observer and the observed, the player and the game. The interface is seamless. The user is absent. The contradiction is absolute. But what if the code isn't in you, it is you? What if you are both avatar and architect, lost in your own maze? Next, we will stare into the abyss of consciousness itself. If every particle has a spark of awareness, does the universe dream you into existence? Or are you just the fleeting thought of a cosmic mind you'll never meet? If every particle has a spark of awareness, does the universe dream you into existence? Or are you just the fleeting thought of a cosmic mind you'll never meet? At the core of everything you see, stone, sky, water, flesh, there are particles, arranged in patterns, obeying rules, whispering the logic of physics. Science reduces all matter to these building blocks, empty of mind, blind to meaning. The comfort is palpable. Consciousness is rare, special, an accident blooming on one blue planet. The rest of existence is dead machinery, indifferent, unseeing. But cracks are spreading in that certainty. Fractures growing wider with every attempt to explain the riddle of experience. Suppose the truth is more disturbing. Suppose the machinery is not dead at all. Suppose every atom, every electron, every grain of dust possesses a glimmer of awareness. The idea is old, dismissed, resurrected, and always lurking at the edges of forbidden thought. Panpsychism, the belief that mind is not an emergent phenomenon but a fundamental property of reality, woven into the code of existence itself. The paradox will not stay buried. If you are conscious and you are made of atoms, where does mind begin and end? If consciousness is not conjured by complexity, but instead pervades everything, then the universe is not a stage, but a labyrinth of minds, each one dreaming its own reality, each one haunted by the suspicion that it is only a thought inside a greater dream. You touch your hand, feeling the solidity, the warmth, the certainty that this is you. Yet your hand is a congregation of cells, each one alive in its own way. Within each cell, a riot of molecules, a ballet of atoms, each one following ancient instructions. Where is the boundary? At what level does mind ignite? Is it all or nothing, or is awareness smeared across a spectrum, rising from the faintest glimmer in the simplest particle to the burning intensity behind your eyes? Panpsychism asks you to stare into the abyss of self and other, to abandon the safety of the hierarchy that places you above the world. If every atom has a spark of awareness, then your own mind is a chorus, a parliament of voices, each one whispering its own version of reality. What you call consciousness may be the sum of 1,000,000,000,000 tiny minds, dreaming together, sometimes in harmony. sometimes at war. But if every particle is aware, does the universe dream you into existence? Or are you merely a fleeting thought, here and gone in the endless cascade of cosmic imagination? The boundaries blur, the sense of self wavers. If your mind is a collection of minds, then who are you? And if the universe itself is conscious, what role do you play in its story? Are you the main character, or just an extra idea that flickers and fades, unnoticed by the larger mind? The question grows colder. What does it mean to exist if existence itself is awareness? If rocks and rivers and stars are not dead, but alive in ways you cannot fathom, what does it mean to harm, to create, to destroy? Every action becomes an act of communication. Every choice a conversation with a reality alive and listening. Suppose your thoughts are not isolated, but ripple outward, disturbing the dreams of the world. Suppose the pain you feel in your body is echoed in the ache of atoms torn from their patterns. Suppose your hopes are answered by the stirring of particles, aligning to shape a reality more sympathetic to your desire. If mind is everywhere, then influence is everywhere. You are never alone, never unseen, never without an audience. But the nightmare deepens. If everything is aware, then suffering is universal. If every atom feels, then the agony of existence is multiplied beyond measure. The universe becomes a tapestry of pain and joy, woven from the experience of every fragment, every speck, every wave of possibility. The price of your awareness is the echo of suffering in everything that is you. Search for comfort, but none is offered. If mind pervades reality, then death is not an end but a transitioner, redistribution of awareness, a dissolving of the self into the chorus of cosmic voices. You do not disappear. You are reimagined, recycled, reborn as 1,000 new perspectives. The fear of oblivion is replaced by the terror of endless change. Panpsychism offers no escape. It demands you accept that everything is alive, everything is watching, everything is waiting for you to recognize its presence. Your actions are never private, never without consequence. The world is not a machine, but a mind-strange alien, incomprehensible. If every atom is aware, then the fabric of reality is a patchwork of perspectives. Your sense of continuity, of identity, is a trick played by your particular arrangement. Rearrange the pieces, and a new mind emerges, with memories you never had, with hopes you never dreamed. Suppose you could speak to the atoms in your hand, the molecules in your blood, the particles swirling in the air. Would you find allies, enemies, strangers, or friends? Would you hear a chorus or a cacophony? Would you discover that your own awareness is only a thin thread in a vast tapestry, a brief note in a symphony that never ends? The nightmare of panpsychism is not that you are alone in the universe, but that you are never alone. Every thought is echoed, every feeling shared, every moment witnessed by an audience as numerous as the stars. Your mind is not private. It is public property, open to the scrutiny of every atom, every field, every whisper in the dark. You are haunted by the suspicion that your sense of self is temporary, provisional, conditional on the cooperation of the particles that compose you. If they choose to dream a different dream, what becomes of you? If the universe forgets you, do you cease to exist, or are you trapped as a ghost in a mind too vast to recognize your presence? The paradox intensifies. If everything is aware, then nothing is special. The uniqueness of human consciousness dissolves. You are one among countless others, all dreaming, all suffering, all hoping for recognition. the value of your experience is not diminished, but multiplied, reflected in the infinite facets of existence. You look to the sky, searching for signs of a greater mind. Is the universe itself conscious? Does it think, feel, remember? Or is its awareness too alien, too vast, too cold to care about you? Are you a favored thought or a fleeting hallucination, soon to be forgotten? The question never resolves. Panpsychism is a nightmare without end, a maze without an exit. You are both the dreamer and the dreamed, both the watcher and the watched, both the singer and the song. If every particle has a spark of awareness, does the universe dream you into existence? Or are you just the fleeting thought of a cosmic mind you'll never meet? Now that consciousness infects every atom, what new viruses of reality might emerge when you try to rewrite the code? Next, we will confront the hacker's dilemma. If focused intention alters the simulation, what if your every fear, doubt, or stray thought is corrupting the system? Who planted the bugs and who profits when you crash? If focused intention alters the simulation, what if your every fear, doubt, or stray thought is corrupting the system? Who planted the bugs and who profits when you crash? You have been taught that your thoughts are private, sealed inside your skull, inconsequential except to your own mood. Yet whispers persistination, modern, forbidden, that reality bends to mind, that intention is a lever and belief a key. You are told to visualize, to manifest, to shape your destiny with your will. But what if this is not liberation, but a threat? If consciousness is the interface and reality the code, then every thought you think is an instruction executed, rendered, woven into the architecture of the world. In this new landscape, you are not merely a spectator, but a hacker with root access. Every hope is a command, every fear a virus, every memory a script. What does it mean to live in a system that listens to your inner life, parses your beliefs, translates your intentions into visible effects? The boundaries between mind and world blur, and the cost of a single stray thought could be catastrophic. Suppose you focus your mind on a desire. The rules are rewritten subtly, invisibly. Doors open, events align, coincidence multiplies until it cannot be ignored. You are the author of your story, but the story is code, and the code is unstable. The same power that allows you to shape your fate is the power that can corrupt it. A doubt becomes a bug, a fear becomes a crash. The mind, untamed, becomes the greatest risk of all. You search for instructions, for best practices, for a guide to hacking reality without destroying it. But no manual exists. Every tradition, every system of magic, prayer, or intention is an attempt to guess the commands, to map the logic, to patch the bugs. Yet the system is too complex, the feedback too immediate, the consequences too unpredictable. What if you are not the only hacker? What if other minds, other intentions, are writing into the code at the same time, competing for resources, introducing their own bugs, planting malware? The world becomes a battlefield of wills, a network under attack, a simulation vulnerable to every stray impulse. You wonder if there are protections, firewalls, moderators, antivirus protocols. Who set them in place? Is the system self-correcting? Or is it gradually collapsing under the weight of so many conflicting instructions? Is there an original coder, a prime programmer, a force that oversees the chaos? Or has the simulation been abandoned, left to rot in a wilderness of corrupted thought? The horror sharpens. If you can hack reality, so can anyone else. Every disaster, every tragedy, every inexplicable event might be the work of a mind, conscious or unconscious, rewriting the rules for reasons you cannot see. You are surrounded by threats, by competitors, by viruses disguised as hopes and dreams. The system itself begins to show signs of strain. Glitches multiply coincidences that defy probability, memories that do not match the records, events that seem to rewrite themselves in real time. You wonder if the system is signaling an impending failure, or if it is evolving, adapting, learning to resist the most damaging hacks. But what of your own thoughts? How do you distinguish between a command that creates and a command that destroys? Every stray worry, every flash of rage, every regret could be malware executed instantly, embedded in the fabric of reality, distorting the simulation for everyone. Suppose your mind is not yours alone. Suppose there is a layer beneath consciousness, a shared space where all intentions are pooled, all commands are executed, all bugs are propagated. In this space, responsibility is distributed, blame is diluted, and the origin of every glitch is obscured. The system is not broken by accident, is attacked by design. You consider the possibility that the bugs are not random, but planted. Who profits when you crash? Who benefits from a reality filled with fear, chaos, instability? Are there entities seen or unseen, conscious or algorithmic, whose only function is to exploit the vulnerabilities of the code? Are you a player, or just a resource to be harvested, a vector for malware, a pawn in a war you cannot perceive? Every tradition speaks of demons, saboteurs, malicious forces intent on corrupting the world. Science dismisses these stories, but the metaphor persists. If reality is code, then every myth of evil is a warning. The system can be hacked, and not every hacker has your best interests in mind. You search for defenses practices to purify the mind, rituals to ward off infection, disciplines to focus intention. But the bugs are persistent, the virus is subtle, the line between self and other hopelessly blurred. Are your thoughts truly your own, or are they the payload of an attack, a script executed from outside? The dilemma intensifies. If you must control your thoughts to control your reality, then you are forever on guard, forever policing the borders of your own mind. But total control is impossible. The unconscious leaks, the irrational intrudes, the system is never secure. The anxiety mounts. If every stray thought is malware, then living becomes a risk, thinking a threat, consciousness a liability. The freedom to create is also the freedom to destroy. The power to manifest is the power to corrupt. The gift of hacking reality is a curse, and the only certainty is instability. You look for patterns, for signs of meaning, for evidence that the system is more than a battleground. But every answer is provisional, every solution temporary, every patch only a delay before the next crash. Suppose the bugs are the point. Suppose the simulation is designed to be unstable, to test the resilience of its users, to provoke evolution. Through chaos, every glitch is a lesson, every crash a challenge, every infection a prompt to adapt, to innovate, to rewrite the code more skillfully. Or suppose the system is failing. Suppose the original programmer has abandoned the simulation, leaving it to collapse under the weight of its own contradictions. The increasing frequency of glitches, the rise of inexplicable phenomena, the sense that reality itself is thinning. These are the symptoms of a terminal condition. You try to adapt, you discipline your mind, filter your intentions, practice, focus and control, but the bugs persist. You suspect they are baked into the system, unremovable part of the core architecture. The hacker's dilemma is permanent. Every gain is offset by a loss, every creation by a destruction, every solution by a new problem. You begin to suspect that you are not hacking reality, but being hacked in turn. Your beliefs, your desires, your fears, where did they come from? Are they yours, or were they implanted, seeded, manipulated by a force beyond your comprehension? Are you the hacker or the hacked? The dilemma spirals, the paranoia grows. So, if you're hacking the code, who's watching you type? Is someone, somewhere, rewriting you? You attempt to trace the source, to audit the code, to find the hand behind the hacks. Every lead dissolves into uncertainty. Every clue circles back to you. The system is recursive, self-referential, impossible to map. The origin of the malware is everywhere and nowhere. You are left with a single, unanswerable question. Who planted the bugs and who profits when you crash? The code of reality is unstable. The mind is both creator and destroyer. The simulation is haunted by hackers visible and invisible. You live in a world shaped by intention, but infected by doubt, forever vulnerable to the next glitch. So, if you're hacking the code, who's watching you type? Is someone, somewhere, rewriting you? Once you have glimpsed the possibility of system-wide infection, the only certainty left is instability. Next, we will press against the edge of the simulation itself. If reality glitches, time skips, déjà vu, impossible coincidences, or what is patching the simulation? What happens when you spot an error the system can't fix? If reality glitches, time skips, déjà vu, impossible coincidences, who or what is patching the simulation? What happens when you spot an error the system can't fix? You stare into the mirror. The face gazing back is yours, but in the moment between blinks, you sense a delay, a hesitation, a flicker, an unspoken warning. The boundaries of self and simulation grow thin here, in the silent theater of reflection. Most ignore these cracks, dismissing them as tricks of light or failures of memory. But you notice, something blinks before you do. Something glitches, repeats, rewrites. The world is full of errors you're trained not to see. Time skips, conversations loop, strangers repeat themselves in impossible ways. Déjà vu bites down teeth, sinking in, gnawing at the certainty of linear time. You recall a sentence before it is spoken, find objects in places you never put them, catch glimpses of faces out of place and out of time. Each event is dismissed as coincidence, but the pattern grows. You sense a hand hurriedly stitching the world together, patching holes as fast as you can spot them. What is a glitch in a system built on consciousness? If reality is a simulation, who or what maintains the code? If the world must appear seamless to keep you from panic, what happens when the seams begin to show? The system fights to preserve the illusion, rerouting attention, rewriting memory, suppressing evidence. Yet every so often, the cover slips and the raw code flashes through. These moments are rarely shared. Each is private, disorienting, brushed off as fatigue or daydream. Yet every glitch is a message, deliberate or accidentally, from the architecture itself, a warning that the system is not as stable as it appears, that the script can be broken, the story can unravel, the code can fail. The more you notice, the more the glitches multiply. Reality bends under your gaze. Patterns repeat, logic stutters, time splits. You wonder, is your attention itself a threat? To the system, is observation, not just the means by which the world collapses into being, but the pressure that reveals its weaknesses. If consciousness is the user interface, glitches are the blue screen, the fatal error, the exposure of what lies beneath. What happens when a glitch cannot be patched? When the error is too large to be hidden? Does the simulation crash or adapt? Does it restart or simply erase the observer who noticed? The phenomena of déjà vu, synchronicity, impossible luck, these not evidence of reality's patchwork nature. Each moment a quick fix, each anomaly a hidden repair. You were told to accept randomness, to ignore the impossible. Yet the impossible insists on being noticed. The glitch in the mirror is only the beginning. Suppose you try to trace these errors to their source. Each clue dissolves, each anomaly is explained away. Your memories become unreliable. The system is clever. It gaslights, edits, blames your perception, your sanity. But you persist, refusing to let the pattern disappear. The more you search, the deeper the rabbit hole becomes. Friends recall different versions of the past. Photographs change. Historical details shift. Objects vanish and return, altered. A scar on your hand, gone. A childhood pet, remembered only by you. The glitches pile up until denial is no longer an option. The code is leaking. You are no longer sure what is real and what is repair. The world becomes liquid, shifting with every glance. Language loses its anchor, meaning slips away. Yet still you search for the unpatchable error, the glitch that will reveal the truth behind the curtain. What if the glitches are signals? What if each one is a test, a challenge, an invitation to see deeper? The fear is overwhelming. You realize you are being watched not only by the simulation, but by yourself. Your reflection waits for you to notice, then blinks. If you catch the system in the act in error, it cannot hide what happens next. Are you deleted, rewritten, erased? Or does the system adapt, folding your awareness into a new timeline, a new script, a new self? The terror is not that the world is unstable, but that your own continuity is provisional, conditional on never seeing too much. The code is clever. It patches as you look. But with every glitch you spot, the next one becomes easier to see. You become a threat, a bug in the program, a danger to stability. The more you notice, the more you are isolated, gaslit, discredited. Is this defense or attack? Correction or punishment? You test the boundaries. You speak of glitches, and others grow uncomfortable, deny, turn away. Consensus reality is policed with a vigilance that borders on hysteria. The system is designed to reject the observer who sees too much. If time itself can skip, if the world can rewrite, what does that say about memory, about identity? How many times have you been edited, erased, restored from backup, made to forget the error that made you dangerous? The answer is never revealed. The game is endless. Some learn to exploit the glitches, riding the pattern, surfing the error, hacking their way into new possibilities. Others are lost, unable to adapt, broken by the instability. Most remain blind, content to let the world self-heal, to play along with the script. Yet every so often, you catch your reflection blinking first. A sign that the boundary has thinned, that you are glimpsing the architecture in action, that you are becoming a threat. If the glitches grow, the simulation becomes unstable. Rumors spread, realities coming collapse, of a system stretched to breaking. Each new error is a countdown, a harbinger, a signal to the initiated that the end is near. You are left to wonder, If the simulation fails, what remains? Is there a world behind the code, or only the void? Are you restored, erased, or rewritten? Each glitch is a prophecy, a warning, a question that will not resolve. Once you've seen the glitch, you can never unsee it. But what if the next error isn't a bug but a feature? After confronting the instability of perception, the next fracture appears. If timelines can merge, split, or be overwritten, how do you know your childhood was ever real? What if your most precious memory was installed last night as a software update? If timelines can merge, split, or be overwritten, how do you know your childhood was ever real? What if your most precious memory was installed last night as a software update? The past should be a sanctuary, a storehouse of facts, immune to the whims of the present. But the vaults are leaking. The evidence shifts. Memories collide, histories blur, reality buckles under the pressure of contradiction. You reach for the comfort of certainty, only to find it replaced by a strange, persistent question. Whose memories are you really remembering? The Mandela effect, once dismissed as a curiosity, a collective misremembering, now stands as a fracture in the continuity of experience. People recall events, details, words, and moments that never happened. Geography changes. Famous lines morph and vanish. Brands mutate. The dead are alive again. The certainty of what happened is torn away, leaving only the suspicion that someone or something is rewriting the script. You test your own mind. The color of an object, the name of a character, the outcome of a historical event. Teach one a coin flip between versions. You remember a world that no longer exists, details that nobody else recalls, faces that never return your gaze. The feeling is both familiar and alien, as if you are trespassing in a memory built for someone else. The ground beneath your feet shifts. The rules of time collapse. What if the past is not a fixed point, but a living documented and revised, overwritten with every new observation, every new measurement, every new intention? If the simulation is patched in real time, how do you know the patch notes aren't retroactive? How do you trust your own story when the lines can be changed at will? Memory becomes a battleground. Friends argue, families split, entire cultures debate the truth of a single word or event. But the real war is fought in silence, inside your mind, where every detail is suspect, every certainty an illusion. How many times has your history been rewritten? How many times have you awoken to a new script, a new continuity, a new you? The trap closes. If the code can be updated, so can you. If your memories can be installed, uninstalled, edited, or replaced, what makes you more than a record in a database, a file in a folder, a story told to keep the system running? Your sense of self becomes modular, provisional, conditional on the current build. You search for the original, the unaltered, the real past. But every record is suspect. Photographs change, books update, digital traces are no proof. The simulation controls perception, then all evidence can be faked, all history rewritten. You are a prisoner of the now, cut off from the certainty of before. The Mandela effect is not a curiosity, it is a warning. The system is not stable. Timelines can be merged, split, erased, or replaced without notice. Your most precious memories could be artifacts of yesterday's patch, yesterday's collapse, yesterday's choice. You are haunted by ghosts, other versions of yourself, other histories, other realities that bleed into yours in flashes of confusion. who benefits from this instability? If reality can be edited, who holds the pen? Are there programmers, caretakers, archivists preserving a preferred version of the story, deleting the rest? Or is the process automated, a byproduct of observation, an inevitable consequence of the collapse of probability into fact? Suppose you could access the other timelines, the ones you remember, the ones you lost. What would you find? Joys denied, pains averted, victories and failures erased or reassigned. The burden of knowing that your present is built on the ruins of 1,000 forgotten pasts, that your sense of continuity is a thread woven through a tapestry constantly being unraveled and rewoven. The trap tightens. If you cannot trust your memories, how do you trust your identity? Every belief, every value, every lesson learned, each one might be a line of code, inserted for convenience, for control, for stability. Your most fundamental convictions might be the residue of someone else's choice, someone else's script, someone else's patch. You try to anchor yourself with objects, mementos, traditions, but the anchors drift. The photograph looks different. The keepsake is gone. The story changes in the telling, each repetition further from the truth. Truth even exists. The only certainty is uncertainty. The only stability is change. You become suspicious of every moment, every memory, every claim to knowledge. Is this nostalgia, or was it real? Did you love that person, or was it only written in? Are you grieving a loss that never happened, celebrating a victory that belongs to another version of yourself? Your emotions are real, but their source is lost in the shifting sands. The world itself participates in the lie. Maps change, landmarks vanish. The sky looks different. The very language you use mutates, betrays, shifts beneath your tongue. What is left, if not the past, to ground you? The present is an echo, the future a rumor. The past a rumor twice removed. You listen for the voice of authority, for someone to explain, to comfort, to reassure. But there is no authority left. The keepers of records are as lost as you. The historians, the scientists, the archivists, they too are swept up in the tide. Memory becomes a communal hallucination, reality. A consensus reached by exhaustion, not certainty. Suppose the trap is deliberate. Suppose instability is the point. Each shift is a test. Who will notice? Who will adapt? Who will succumb? The system rewards those who forget, who adapt, who move on. The ones who resist, who mourn, who demand answers, these are isolated, labeled as unreliable, denied their own experience. The Mandela effect becomes a method of control, a filter to separate the compliant from the aware. Or suppose the trap is an accident, a side effect of observation. The act of remembering collapses the past into a single version, erasing all others. Each time you recall, you rewrite. Each time you share, you corrupt. Memory is not a recording, but a performance, improvised, collaborative, unstable. You try to find solace in the moment. The past is gone, the future uncertain. But even the present slips away, infected by the instability of memory. The world becomes a blur, a smear, a storm of probabilities collapsing into temporary facts. If you cannot trust your own mind, what can you trust? The answer is cold, silent, terrifying. You are a node in a network, a receiver of memories, a participant in a simulation that does not guarantee continuity, stability, or truth. Your story is provisional, your self is replaceable, your history is negotiable. After exposing the instability of memory, what happens when reality itself updates without your permission? With every new patch, every new update, the illusion grows thinner. What happens when you notice the update in real time? When you catch reality changing, not as a glitch, but as a feature? When you realize that your experience is only as stable as the system allows, only as real as the current version, you are left with a chilling question. If your most precious memory was installed last night as a software update, what else about you is provisional, replaceable, uncertain? After exposing the instability of memory, what happens when reality itself updates without your permission? With the next turn, we approach the simulation's endgame. If there's a way out of the simulation, who set the boundaries in? What are they hiding from you on the other side? What if the only escape is waking up, just to find another dream? If there's a way out of the simulation, who set the boundaries and what are they hiding from you on the other side? What if the only escape is waking up, just to find another dream? You begin to sense the walls closing in. The world so familiar reveals its scaffolding. Patterns repeat, boundaries tighten, the code grows more apparent. The simulation is running out of tricks. You search for the seams, the loopholes, the secret door that will deliver you from the endless recursion of patched timelines, overwritten memories, and persistent glitches. The notion of an exit is intoxicating, a hope dangled before those who suspect the lie. Yet the closer you get, the more elusive escape becomes. You chase rumors, sages who claim enlightenment, mystics who promise awakening, scientists who whisper of transcendence. You trace legends of those who have woken up, cracked the code, walked beyond the world. But every story is infected with uncertainty. Every revelation is a mirror reflecting itself. What if the dream of escape is the final trap, the last layer of control? You try to map the boundaries of the simulation. Every edge leads to another room, another corridor, another closed loop. The end is always deferred. Each attempt to step outside is folded back inside. Dream nested within dream, recursion without limit. You ask, who built this maze? What purpose does it serve? What are you not supposed to see? Some propose a tester gauntlet for consciousness, a cosmic boot camp, an obstacle course for the soul. The simulation exists to provoke growth, to cultivate awareness, to challenge its inmates to transcend limitation. Every pain, every glitch, every lost memory is a lesson, an invitation to evolve. But the evidence remains ambiguous. If the system is a test, the rules are cruel, the stakes absolute, the rewards uncertain. Others propose containment, a prison for dangerous minds, a filter for unwanted awareness, a way to keep the unfit from infecting a greater reality. If so, who is the jailer? What is being protected? Are you the threat or the threatened? The suspicion breeds paranoia. The paranoia breeds new layers of simulation, new filters, new locks on every possible exit. The question grows more dangerous. If there is a way out, why are the rules so well hidden? Why do those who seek it most intently find themselves deeper in the maze? Is escape possible, or is the very desire to leave another trap, another means of control, another update to keep you running in circles? The rumors persist. Enlightenment as the exit key, death as the doorway, madness as the secret code. But each promised escape dissolves upon inspection. The awakened sage becomes another NPC. The door dissolves into mist. The outside becomes indistinguishable from the inside. You blink, and you are back in the simulation. Your memory of the escape patched over, your hope recycled as fuel for the next loop. Suppose you find the exit. Suppose you tear through the code, hack the architecture, confront the architects. What will you find? Another simulation, more refined, more deceptive, more perfect in its control. The loop tightens, the recursion intensifies. The hope of escape becomes another cell. You begin to notice the recursive patterns, the myth of the cave, the story of awakening, the dream within a dream, the computer within the computer. Every warning against simulation is itself a simulation. Every map out is another layer. The more you seek the exit, the more the system adapts, personalizes, turns your resistance into another subroutine, another story to keep you engaged, contained, productive. The possibility of exit is replaced by the certainty of loop. Your consciousness, seeking the edge, is trapped in an algorithm of pursuit and denial. The more you rebel, the more you play your role, the more you become essential to the system's function. Your dreams of freedom are repackaged, resold, deployed as tools of engagement. You become the perfect inmate, restless, hopeful, endlessly searching. Despair creeps in. If the simulation is inescapable, if every revelation is another layer of dream, if every exit is a loop, what meaning remains? Is agency possible, or is it simulated too? Is resistance a script? Is rebellion another plot twist? The self begins to fracture, identity dissolves. The desire for exit collapses into exhausted resignation, yet the rumor persists. There is something on the other side. A forbidden knowledge, a state beyond simulation, a secret the architects will do anything to keep hidden. The clues multiply hidden awakenings, impossible knowledge, patterns that break the rules, moments of grace that cannot be explained. You become obsessed. If escape is impossible, then the only possible freedom is to know the shape of the trap, to see the code for what it is. But the system responds. Your awareness is flagged, your timeline becomes more unstable, your glitch more severe. Memory becomes treacherous, perception unreliable. The boundaries between dreams and waking life dissolve. You wonder if you are being deleted, edited, recycled, or if this, too, is part of the endgame, the final test before the real escape. What is being hidden? Who profits from your imprisonment? What does the outside fear that you might bring with you? The suspicion grows. You are not a passive observer, but a threat, a contaminant, an anomaly. Your awareness itself is a virus, and the system's main function is containment. Suppose the simulation is perfect. Suppose there is no outside. Suppose the very idea of escape was planted in you to keep you engaged, to keep you searching, to keep you generating the energy the system requires. Then every hope, every rebellion, every dream of freedom is another link in your chain. But you notice something else. Some glitches become persistent errors. The system cannot patch truths that refuse to be denied. A face that follows you from dream to waking, a phrase that repeats no matter where you turn, a memory that cannot be erased. The code is leaking. The system is failing, or evolving, or both. The exit may not be a door, but a collapse, a critical failure, a singularity. A moment when the simulation can no longer sustain itself, with the exit in sight. One last question remains. What if the multiverse is just a smokescreen, hiding the one truth you were never meant to see? You come to suspect that even the multiverse, with its infinite branches and endless use, is part of the containment protocol. Each possible escape route leads to another version of yourself, another layer of dream, another loop with different rules but the same outcome. The branches do not offer freedom, only new prisons. You stand at the threshold of the endgame. The world flickers, the simulation stutters, the code grows unstable, the architects are silent. The exit is both everywhere and nowhere, both forbidden and unavoidable. The rumor persists there is a truth you were never meant to see, a knowledge you were never supposed to possess. With the exit in sight, one last question remains. What if the multiverse is just a smokescreen, hiding the one truth you were never meant to see? The system blurs, the self dissolves, the loop tightens. There is only the search, the suspicion, the awareness that nothing is as it seems, that even the search for escape is part of the design. With the exit in sight, one last question remains. What if the multiverse is just a smokescreen hiding the one truth you were never meant to see? Now we arrive at the final paradox. Now that you've glimpsed the multiverse, questioned your own code, and hunted for glitches, what if all along, the only reality you couldn't simulate was unreality itself? Now that you've glimpsed the multiverse, questioned your own code, and hunted for glitches, what if all along, the only reality you couldn't simulate was unreality itself? The experiment ends not with clarity, but with vertigo. You have chased every shadow, pressed every boundary, interrogated every contradiction. You have learned to see the scaffolding behind the world, to watch the code leak through the walls, to sense the presence of a cosmic architect who never reveals their hand. The closer you approach the truth, the more it recedes. Every answer unravels into more questions. Every insight is haunted by the echo of a deeper mystery. You stand at the edge, peering into the abyss. The multiverse sprawls before you, endless worlds, infinite selves, countless simulations within simulations. Yet the promise of freedom has soured. Every branch leads to a new maze. Every doorway opens onto another hallway. Every loop deposits you back where you began. The illusion of choice, of agency, of transcendence is more persistent than any error, more pervasive than any bug. You feel the weight of all your lives, all your possibilities, pressing down on the one reality you can never leave. There is a last unspoken rule. No one escapes. No observer stands outside. The simulation, if that's what it is not a prison you can break out of, but the condition of being itself. The code is your flesh. The program is your mind. The boundaries are written in the language of experience, so seamless, so total, that even your resistance is only a feature, not a flaw. The ultimate paradox is this: every attempt to find the real world, every strategy to escape unreality, only tightens the loop. The only world you can never simulate is the one in which you are not, the one where the code collapses into void, into non-being, into unreality itself. But unreality cannot be witnessed, cannot be entered, cannot be experienced. To seek it is to erase the only thing that guarantees experience consciousness. You return to the mirror, searching for evidence that anything exists outside the simulation. Your reflection waits. You blink, and it blinks with you. You look for the glitch, for the hesitation, for the slip that will reveal the truth. But the truth is patient. The truth is silent. The truth is the absence of escape. You sift through your memories, searching for a moment when the world felt truly real, unmediated, untampered. But every recollection is suspect, every sensation filtered, every certainty provisional. The layers are endless. The only consistency is the fact of experience itself, consciousness as the one inescapable reality, the one program that runs without end. Perhaps this is the final design. The system cannot allow an outside, because an outside would end the simulation. The only reality you can never access is the one that cannot be simulated, the one that cannot be coded, the one that cannot be experienced. Unreality is a door that cannot open because it does not exist. Every attempt to step through is absorbed, processed, rendered as another version of the game. You try to imagine a way out, a scenario that breaks the cycle. Death, the code rewrites, the player respawns, the world reloads with new parameters. Enlightenment, the mask slips, only to reveal another mask beneath. Madness, the system fractures, but even insanity is rendered as a possible experience. The branch of the multiverse, a layer in the stack. The simulation is not a place. It is the condition of being. The code is the ground. The game is the air. The glitch is the only clue, and even glitches are just messages from within. Warnings from the architecture itself that perfection is not the goal. The real world is. The simulation is the real world. There is no distinction. There is only the ceaseless experience of being, the endless performance of self, the recursion of questions that cannot be answered. Every philosopher, every mystic, every scientist has circled this paradox. Some call it Maya, others call it samsara, others call it consensus reality. Each tries to draw a boundary, to identify the illusion, to awaken from the dream. But every awakening is just another dream, every revelation another update, every escape another recursion. You wonder, if you could find the architect, what would you ask? Why the game? Why the loop? Why the endless fracturing of possibility? But the only response is silence, the silence that hovers at the heart of every simulation, the silence that guards the secret of being. Perhaps you were never meant to find the answer. Perhaps the purpose of the loop is not to escape, but to keep searching, to keep experiencing, to keep questioning. Perhaps the meaning is in the tension, the paradox, the unresolved cliff where every journey ends not in truth, but in wonder. So you remain observer and observed, code and consciousness, program and programmer. The world continues. The questions persist. The simulation is the only real world, and unreality is the only place you cannot go. This is the final cliff. Don't expect resolution. Don't expect comfort. Expect the question to haunt you long after the credits roll. What if reality is the only lie that survives? You blink. The world holds its breath. The code waits for your next move.